Jackson Meadows, who is straight funk on this show, producer of the show, among other things, he let the Out of Bounds show down. One, he was the Northeast Jackson kickball commissioner, which was impressive considering they actually had the season in the league. But his team lost last night in the semifinals. And Patrick Avalon and the F. Jones crew boat raced them once again, and so they're back-to-back champs. And Meadows did not take that out-of-bounds magic and become a champion. So we're somewhat disappointed in straight funk, but we'll figure it out. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're brought to you by the Armory, Lake Harbor and Ridgeland, for all your firearms, optics, and suppressors. The Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland, in front of Kroger. Speaking of people who may be upset, LSU fans. LSU goes down to Florida, and they lose. And Billy Napier, give him credit. He comes up with an offensive game plan for DJ Lagway, and Lagway's basically on one hamstring or one leg, and he didn't have one rushing attempt because this dude can move when he's 100%. He's going to be a phenomenal player. But he built an offensive game plan around Lagway, and they also ran the football, and Florida's defensive line was nasty, and they outscored them 14-3 in the fourth quarter. So we welcome in Mr. New Orleans, Mr. Louisiana, Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Brian Kelly's not going anywhere because he's got like $1 billion on his contract. However, people are getting upset. Mike, what was the temperature like on your – I know the Saints won, but what was the temperature like on your show towards LSU yesterday?
It was sort of red hot. You have no idea what LSU team shows up week to week. And every week it's a different chapter. LSU dominated time of possession, total yards. They moved the football up and down the field. They could not score touchdowns. Just couldn't. And that has been an issue all season long, especially in the red zone. But when watching the game, they were able to move the football. It's probably the best rushing attack they've had all year long, and being able to run the football. And, again, at critical times, not being able to make the big play to get them a touchdown. So there's a lot of frustration on what's happening here. And then the big run late by the freshman running back for Florida sort of sealed the deal for them. Again, it was a winnable game for LSU. Let it slip through their fingers. And this isn't a good football team right now. Bottom line, they're not very good. And it's just shocking to me that events had them beat South Carolina on the road in a game which South Carolina jumped all over them. And then against Ole Miss, the only time they had the lead was when they won the game. So it's been a crazy season for LSU. I think the coaching staff and Brian Kelly are, telling the national people, well, we don't have enough personnel. Well, my thing is, you 3 years into it, this is your team. Whose fault is that? It's your fault.
That's right.
And so don't point fingers at somebody else. This is your fault. This is your team. And I think the early misses in the transfer portal have really kind of hurt this football team quite a bit. And at defensive line and also in the secondary, where that's some major holes on this football team. They can't run the ball consistently well. Last year it was sort of masked because you had Jaden Daniels. Okay, Jaden rushed for over 1,100 yards last year.
Wow.
A lot of that was impromptu. Jaden took off. It was like, here we go. And go catch him, and good luck. but their lack of physicality, offensive, defensive line, to me is shocking. Just shocking that they have not been able to move people off the line of scrimmage. And that is something that if you go back to all Brian Kelly's teams, wherever he's coached, he's known for that physicality up front with offensive, defensive lines. Has not worked here. Everybody's pointing the finger at Garrett Nussmeier. My thing is you got not a lot of running game.
Right.
Teams are scheming to take him out, and so he's got some difficulties. And, man, I always say this, I think it applies to the Saints too. When you're not good at center, you expose a lot of things. LSU lost a veteran center. They have a redshirt freshman in DJ Chester who has never played center before in there. And right now he is really struggling. And you got open guys coming in. I mean, they are coming in through the middle, and Florida at least 3 times had open shots at Nussmeier that he was running for his life. So both the heat is turned up, and Brian has no one to blame but himself. This is his team. He built it, and it'll be interesting to see. They have, I think right now, I think it's still the number 1 rated recruiting class for 2025. Can he keep that intact at this point? And, you know, that would certainly help. But this team has to go out in the transfer portal and get them a couple of really good defensive tackles and also help at cornerback. Because if not, we're going to be talking about the same thing next year.
Ooh, that'd be year 4. And LSU's going to be ready to go, ready to go to the college football playoff, especially as they see, you know, Ole Miss go and Bama and Georgia if things hold. He's Mike Detillier, LSU insider. He's got his finger on the pulse with the Saints and LSU. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, and you're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Can Bo Davis and I assume Frank Wilson and a couple, I mean, can they bail Brian Kelly out of this through the portal and like you said, hold this high school recruiting and get, I mean, are you confident they can get this thing done in the offseason, Mike D?
Yeah, I really believe that. I think they can ride this ship. But you know, Brian had always pointed toward year 3. And he had looked at other times in his career where year 3 was the breakout year for his teams. Has not happened this year at all. And but you got some great recruiters on that staff now, from Blake Baker to Bo Davis, as you pointed out, Corey Raymond, the secondary coach, Joe Sloan, their quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. He's also an outstanding recruiter. So I think the part is there. And I'll just use a Nick Saban line that he used to say when he was down here and doing different junkets. It's all about recruit and develop. A lot of people can recruit. Can you develop those players? And that's something Brian Kelly's got to do a better job at, and his staff has to do a better job at. But here would be the crazy thing. You talk about LSU fans would be some tick. And it would be a long shot. But what happens if Tulane gets into the top 12?
Oh, John Summerall.
In year 1 with John Summerall, that now it's a long shot, but there's still that possibility that if Tulane can run the table and can win the conference, that they would be in the top 12 and LSU wouldn't in year 3 of Brian Kelly, year 1 of John Summerall.
Ooh, that will not sit well over Christmas holidays in the Bayou, as you like to say, Mike D.
No, it won't. No, it won't. It will sit well with Tulane fans, but it won't sit well with LSU fans. That I can tell you. And, you know, people don't believe this, but I'll go to my grave believing this. They got more LSU fans in the city of New Orleans than they have Saints fans.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that. They have more LSU fans in the city of New Orleans than they have Saints fans.
Mm. Wow. Tulane beats Army, and they can stay clean. Mike D just threw out LSU's worst nightmare. Tulane, the little private school. Willie Fritz leaves them. John Summerall comes in and may drive them to the college football playoff. Holy smokes, Mike D. Dang.
Yeah, that would be really something. And, man, that would be interesting because, man, you talk about the heat really turned up next year. That Coach Summerall. And, man, listen, we fortunate. I have him on today. It's Tulane Tuesday on WWL. And
I love
John,
it.
He's super to have on. You know, some coaches are a pain in the butt. You can't get them to say anything.
Yes.
One thing with Coach Summerall, man, he's good. You get him on the air, he tells you the truth. And I laughed with him 2 weeks ago. They were playing Temple, so I said, Coach, kind of tell me, just think of the strengths of Temple's football team. And don't tell me they're good. And, I mean, he burst out laughing. He gave a little scenario, but it was real short. And they ended up torching them. But their defense has only given up 9 points the last 3 games. 9 defensively that's what they've given up the last 3 games. And those
wow.
are really, really playing well. They got a big game certainly against Memphis. And they end the conference championship game. They would play Army. And, again, you would need a little help to get in, but it's not far-fetched. They could sneak in there. Man, LSU fans would be irate that occurred.
Oh, man. Okay. Mike D on the Out of Bounds Show. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. We'll see what LSU does. They've got all the money. They got the brand. They got the money. Players flock to their program. They start off on third base. I believe I said this, Mike D, yesterday. I've said it a couple of times in the last probably couple of years, but I believe if there's any program in the 2000s that has boomed and grown as far as their brand more than anybody else in college football, and it was because of the guy you named earlier, it's LSU. Because, what Saban did, the model he put in place, Miles kept it. He at least used that model. So did Eddie O. I don't think there's another college football program that has grown their brand at the level that LSU has. And there's been some others, Clemson and others have had success, but I just don't believe it at the LSU level. And this, Mike D, y'all start out with about automatic, like 17, 18 kids in a class that are just going to come to LSU out of Louisiana. Do guys that can just flat out play. And then you just kind of fill in from around the country. So you're a powerhouse, national brand, and people they're not going to be okay with 8-4, Mike D. They're just not,
No, they're not. They're not. And Drew Brees said it best. He helped coach Purdue in that bowl game a couple years back. And so I got to talk to him. We did a pickleball tournament. And I said, man, how about that talent on LSU? And he looked at me and said, Mike, LSU got dudes. It's just the way he said it. Man, LSU got dudes. And he said, it's unreal, the talent and the speed on that football team. And so you're right. They're not going to accept 8-4. They're just not going to do it. And so there's a lot of pressure, but not only just in football. Bo, in the 2000s, when you think about LSU baseball, Skip Bertman and now Jay Johnson, what they've done. Basketball, not quite as much, but women's basketball, Kim Mulkey. Their track and field programs have been unbelievable. They had 3 winners in the Olympics on that track and field program. You think about women's gymnastics. They were college champs this year. That brand. And look at Paul Skeens, Livy Dunn, Angel Reese. And now we're not even talking about football.
Right. Burrow,
What a
Chase,
Justin
Jefferson.
What a Jamar
Golly.
Chase. What a Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. I can go on and on. Look what has happened in the last 20, 25 years here at LSU. We are living in the golden age of LSU athletics. But if football is sort of trailing the field, and Kim Mulkey just signed the #1 rated recruiting class in women's college basketball. And I think Matt McMahon will change things.
He will.
Again, anytime you lose a coach, especially like Will Wade, you got a situation where you're going to start from zero. Guys are going to leave. And I think Matt's done a good job. He's got some good recruits in here, and I think they got a pretty good ball club this year. So there's a lot of pressure when you come here, not just to win. They want to win championships. We're not talking about going to the Pop-Tarts Bowl here, okay? Now, I wouldn't mind the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but just kidding on that. But, man, that's not what they're going to accept. They want you to be in the top 12 and play for a national championship. And I think most people thought that they had a shot this year. And then you look at the SEC, the big question mark is which teams are not going to play in that top 12.
Right.
But right now, you look at Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama. Would they put 4 teams in from the SEC? Will they do that? Be hard not to if everybody wins out. Be hard not to.
Well,
and then what happens, with A&M? What
right.
happens to Tennessee? They left out completely.
Mike D, you watched Florida and LSU last week, so this is perfect for you to give us a preview on Ole Miss at Florida. Now, Ole Miss is the better team, and they're the overwhelming favorite, but you got to go on the road to a Florida team that's playing better. Ole Miss 10.5-point favorites. Do you give Florida a shot on Saturday in Gainesville?
Ole Miss is going to truck them from one end to the other. They don't cover well. Man, they play off coverage. Man, you got to take advantage of that. They'll have a healthy Trey Harris in the lineup. Defensively, their offensive line is not very good on the edges. I think they're pretty good in the interior. But off the edges, Ole Miss is going to get after them. Boy, I'm just telling you. It's going to be a totally different game than when they played against LSU. I expect Ole Miss to win, and they'll win by 2 touchdowns or more.
Mike D has a blowout in Gainesville on Saturday. Ole Miss going to Florida, and it's 10.5 right now. Mike D, I think, says lay the points and enjoy yourself this weekend. Okay, so let's see. You know who I think's on upset alert this weekend is A&M going to Auburn. I know Auburn's not that good, but this is typical Hugh Freeze. Now, DJ Durkin's done a good job with that defense, Mike D. And should A&M win? Yes, but the line's 2.5. I'm telling you, A&M should be on upset alert and be careful going into Auburn. What do you think?
I got to see it to believe it. Can they score enough points? And I think that's the big question mark. I think their defense will hang in there. But, man, just when you think maybe something good's going to happen to Auburn, it doesn't. And Mike Elko's a really good coach. And they don't mind playing small ball against you. But A&M's got dudes, too. Oh, my goodness.
True.
I mean, they got guys that can run, and they can play a little power game with you, too, offensively. I don't know if Auburn can match point for point. I see where you're going with this. I really do. But I don't know that Auburn can match point for point what A&M can put on the board. But Vegas is telling you something. This is not a really good Auburn team, and it's 2.5. They're kind of telling you exactly what you think. that this might be a lot closer game than I think the average, person gives them credit for. But Auburn's going to have to score points in this game, and they've struggled in that category this year. And it all has to, revolve around the quarterback position. And Reed has really taken over at A&M.
Yeah.
And is he a great athlete? And he's a lot better passer than people give him credit for. People talk about his running skills, but he can throw the football pretty well too. I see where you're going. It would not be a game I'd like to play because I don't trust Auburn. I don't trust them at this stage that they can match that kind of point total that I think A&M can put on them.
Yeah. I think maybe first one to 20. I kind of agree with you, Mike D. 20-17, first one to 20. Mike D, have a great week. It's Tulane Tuesday. John Summerall is on fire. And Mike Detillier, WWL Radio this afternoon. And they'll be going through LSU, Tulane, and the Saints, among other topics. Mike D, we appreciate it, buddy. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate it.
Mike D on the Out of Bounds Show.
It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
That's right. Tulane. That's what I'm saying, Jackson Meadows.
It ain't bragging if you can back it up. Yeah, you damn right.
Tulane Green Wave to the college football playoff.
It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
I mean,
he has the biggest bark and the biggest bite.
That'd be John Summerall. John Summerall, is he the best coach in South Louisiana? Brian Kelly's got to get this thing figured out. Now, their recruiting class is awesome. Is LSU capable of going and getting 6 to 8 players in the portal? Absolutely. When their alums get motivated, it's on. Brian was one of those guys who took some shots at the portal last year, and now it's coming back to bite him. So he's got to sprinkle a few players. They're LSU, so they don't have to go get 20, 15, 20, 22, 23 players. But you got to find 2 to 4 on offense, 2 to 4 on defense, and then they'll sign a top 10 class, and we'll see if they can get it done. Straight Funk. We are the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Sound and Communications, soundcomav.com. And they're currently working on the sound system at Reed Green Coliseum for Southern Miss. They did a 20-foot video wall at the Army Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg. Do you need a video wall for your business, your school, your university? It's powered by Sound and Communications. SoundComav.com. SoundComav.com. Sound and Communications.